It's profoundly peculiar how an absence of sound can feel incredibly pronounced within a bustling, crowded environment. Consider how the distant echoes of laughter might resonate not as joy, but like an imposing rumble of thunder pressing against your very core. Observe how a seemingly simple act, such as merely offering a greeting, can evoke the vivid, painful sensation of walking barefoot across shards of broken glass. If you have ever experienced standing in a room filled with numerous people, your heart racing uncontrollably, silently agonizing over whether your deepest thoughts are somehow perceptible to everyone present, then you undoubtedly already grasp the essence of what social anxiety truly feels like. It isn't, at its fundamental core, a direct apprehension of other individuals themselves. More accurately, it manifests as a profound apprehension of simultaneously being scrutinized and subsequently misinterpreted. Indeed, social anxiety extends far beyond mere shyness or introversion. It's not simply a preference for quiet evenings or a desire to avoid casual small talk. Rather, it represents a complex psychological experience deeply embedded within the nervous system. This condition involves a relentless internal struggle, a constant tug of war between an innate yearning for connection and an overwhelming dread of judgment. The resulting paradox is agonizingly painful. You possess an intrinsic desire for belonging, yet the mere prospect of being noticed causes your entire body to tense and contract, as if preparing for an imminent threat. You long to articulate your thoughts, but your voice feels trapped, hidden deep within your chest. Mental health professionals often characterize this as an excessive or disproportionate fear of negative evaluation from others. The mind remains perpetually vigilant, ceaselessly scanning for any indication of rejection. The brain, in its heightened state, frequently misinterprets innocuous social cues as genuine threats. A fleeting glance, a momentary pause in conversation, a subtle alteration in vocal tone. Any of these can abruptly send your thoughts spiraling into disarray. Did I articulate something incorrectly? Do they perceive me as odd or peculiar? Perhaps I should have simply remained silent. Such is the relentless inner monologue experienced by someone navigating life with social anxiety. It's an incessant, invisible conversation with oneself that seems to offer no real respite. What transpires beneath the surface is both profoundly fascinating and deeply heartbreaking. Research consistently demonstrates that the amygdala, the brain's primary fear processing center, becomes significantly hyperactive in individuals diagnosed with social anxiety. This implies that the brain dispatches intense warning signals even when situated in objectively safe and non-threatening social environments. A straightforward social interaction can, therefore, feel akin to standing exposed beneath a powerful spotlight. Every physical gesture becomes amplified, and every spoken word feels unnaturally magnified. It is crucial to understand that this is not a personal failing on your part. Instead, it is your underlying biology striving instinctively to shield you from the perceived threat of rejection. For the anxious brain, the experience of rejection carries the same weight and intensity as genuine physical danger. However, here lies a crucial point that many people fail to fully comprehend. Social anxiety does not always manifest in obvious ways. It doesn't invariably present as visibly trembling hands or hesitant, stuttered speech. Sometimes its manifestation takes the form of a perfectly crafted smile, meticulously rehearsed responses, and an obliging nod, all while your inner consciousness desperately yearns for an escape. It often appears as the sudden cancellation of plans you were genuinely excited about. It also involves replaying entire conversations within your mind, dissecting every word and nuance long after they have concluded. It is the quiet, pervasive exhaustion stemming from the daily performance of normalcy. Yet, underlying all of these struggles, there exists an extraordinary sensitivity. Individuals living with social anxiety frequently perceive intricate details that others typically overlook. They register minute changes in vocal tone, subtle micro-expressions on faces, and nuanced emotional shifts occurring within a room. They possess an emotional radar that is, perhaps, too finely tuned for their own comfort. They adeptly read between spoken lines, discern unspoken feelings beneath words, and absorb the full weight of every emotion they sense around them. This is not indicative of weakness. Rather, it is a profound level of awareness turned intensely inward until it becomes an internal blaze. The origins of social anxiety are often multifaceted and intricate. In some instances, there's a genetic component. Studies indicate it can indeed run in families, linked both to inherent temperament and specific brain chemistry. Alternatively, it can be a learned response, emerging from formative experiences in environments where one consistently felt judged, harshly criticized, or fundamentally unsafe, thereby wiring the brain to associate human interaction with emotional pain. For some, it emerges as a direct consequence of repeated experiences of public humiliation or perceived failure. For others, the causes are far more subtle. Years of being perpetually encouraged to just be confident until the individual began to internalize the belief that something was inherently wrong with them for experiencing such difficulty. When such experiences progressively accumulate, a profound transformation occurs. You begin to cultivate what psychologists term self-focused attention. Your consciousness becomes increasingly directed inward. You cease to fully engage with the external world and instead start vigilantly monitoring how the world is perceiving you. You become acutely, almost hyper-aware of your own physical body, your facial expressions, the exact words you utter, and every deliberate or inadvertent movement you make. Every gesture feels as though it is under intense scrutiny, and every silence, conversely, feels like undeniable proof that you have either spoken far too much or far too little. This is not a manifestation of vanity. It is an intense form of vigilance. At its deepest core, social anxiety is the pervasive fear of exposure, not merely physical exposure, but profoundly emotional exposure. It is the overwhelming apprehension that if others were to truly see you as you authentically are, they might unequivocally reject you. This is precisely why it cannot be remedied by superficial advice, such as just be confident or stop caring what other people think. Such commonplace phrases entirely fail to address the profound depth of the underlying psychological process, largely because individuals with social anxiety often logically understand that, in reality, others aren't scrutinizing them to that extent. However, mere logic alone cannot effectively soothe a highly activated nervous system. When the body genuinely believes it is in a state of peril, rational thought becomes largely irrelevant. So, what course of action can one take when your own physiological being effectively transforms into a personal battlefield? When your voice begins to tremor noticeably during moments that should inherently feel natural. When your moments of silence are mistakenly interpreted as a sign of arrogance. When the sheer effort required simply to appear normal becomes an exhausting act of daily survival. Here is an insight that frequently comes as a considerable surprise to many. Social anxiety is not invariably a fundamental flaw. In some cases, it can represent an intensely overdeveloped manifestation of empathy. Your brain has, over time, been conditioned to care excessively about the feelings of others, to meticulously anticipate their potential reactions even before they vocalize them. You have been meticulously trained to avoid causing any discomfort to others, with the unfortunate consequence that you often end up absorbing that discomfort yourself. And through this intricate process, you gradually forfeit your own inherent sense of ease and tranquility. Nevertheless, there is also a distinct beauty embedded within this sensitivity, because that very same heightened sensitivity which precipitates your anxiety within large crowds can simultaneously empower you to forge truly extraordinary connections with individuals. You possess the unique ability to discern subtle emotions that others routinely overlook. You intuitively sense what people require even before they articulate it. You experience the world with a heightened vividness and unparalleled intimacy. And while such profound emotional depth can undoubtedly bring pain, it is also precisely what renders your compassion profoundly authentic and deeply felt. Still, it is undeniably challenging, indeed profoundly difficult, to exist within a mind that grants you no genuine respite. to meticulously rehearse every potential conversation before it ever transpires, and to tirelessly replay every single moment after it concludes, to constantly feel as though you are perpetually living within the haunting echo of your own pervasive self-consciousness. And the cruelest irony of all is this: the more strenuously you attempt to control this internal state, the more amplified and insistent it becomes. The very instant you endeavor to suppress your anxiety, your brain immediately interprets that act of suppression as an even greater danger. Consequently, you find yourself ensnared in a recurring cycle, gripped by the fear of fear itself. There exists a well-established psychological principle known as the paradox of control. It posits that the more intensely one attempts to govern or subdue an internal emotional state, the more stubbornly uncontrollable that state ultimately becomes. This explains why simply telling yourself to calm down rarely yields any lasting effect. The genuine solution is not found in control, but rather in deep understanding. It involves learning to acknowledge and recognize these intense sensations without feeling compelled to obey their dictates. It means learning to observe your rapidly beating heart, your clammy palms, your spiraling thoughts, and consciously articulate to yourself, "This is merely my body attempting to protect me, not actively betraying me." Therapists frequently employ structured techniques such as exposure therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, specifically for social anxiety. These therapeutic approaches do not aim to completely eradicate the fear. Instead, their objective is to retrain the brain, enabling it to reinterpret and respond differently to fear-inducing stimuli. Through carefully designed gradual exposure, you systematically instruct yourself that social interactions are, in fact, safe environments. You learn that your inherent self-worth is not contingent upon your performance in these situations. You come to understand that moments of silence do not equate to outright rejection, and minor stumbles or awkwardness do not signify ultimate failure. The ultimate goal is not to become utterly fearless. It is, instead, to internalize the profound realization that fear does not possess the power to definitively shape or define your personal identity. What is remarkably potent about social anxiety is how it serves as a stark reflection of one of humanity's most fundamental desires: the intrinsic yearning to belong. Every instance of a nervous heartbeat, every uncomfortable silence, every meticulously overthought sentence, all of these phenomena ultimately trace back to one undeniable truth: you possess a deep and abiding desire to connect with others. And yet, ironically, connection is precisely the very aspect that social anxiety renders most profoundly difficult. This is why the journey of healing from it extends beyond mere psychological adjustments. In a profound sense, it becomes a deeply spiritual endeavor. Because in order to genuinely overcome this condition, you must courageously learn to allow yourself to be seen in your entirety, with all your imperfections, and entirely without apology. You must willingly accept the inherent risk of being misunderstood as a prerequisite to ultimately being truly understood. You see, social anxiety is not merely a disorder characterized by fear. More accurately, it is a pervasive disorder of distorted self-perception. Somewhere along your life's journey, the internal mirror reflecting who you genuinely are and how you believe others perceive you became significantly warped. You gradually began to internalize the belief that your intrinsic value is meticulously measured by the approval of others, that your very presence must perpetually be justified, and that you must never, under any circumstances, inconvenience anyone with your mere existence. Consequently, you began to diminish yourself. You learned to speak softly, to actively fade into the background, until one day you survey your surroundings and awaken to the stark realization that you have meticulously constructed a life so constrained and minuscule that it no longer adequately accommodates the expansive nature of your own soul. However, here lies something truly remarkable. Every single individual who experiences social anxiety will, at some point, encounter a moment, perhaps a quiet internal shift, perhaps a sudden undeniable realization, when they grow profoundly weary of constantly concealing themselves. It is the moment when they fully comprehend that the profound cost of remaining perpetually unseen far outweighs the initial apprehension of being judged. And it is precisely at that juncture that genuine change truly commences. Not through forceful imposition, not through the pretense of unearned confidence, but through the profound, gentle act of self-compassion. The undeniable truth is that the most genuinely confident people in the world are not devoid of fear. They have simply ceased their relentless struggle against it. They have learned to gracefully carry their anxieties, allowing these feelings to exist without permitting them to dictate their actions or lead their lives. And if you are an individual who grapples with these very struggles, please understand that your anxiety does not render you broken or fundamentally flawed. Instead, it makes you acutely aware. It makes you undeniably human. And that very awareness, however intensely painful it may feel, holds the potential to become your most profound instructor. Because once you embark upon the journey of truly comprehending your own mind, you simultaneously begin the powerful process of reclaiming it. You start to discern that the world outside is not nearly as harsh or critical as your internal voice frequently suggests. You observe that other people are not analyzing your every move nearly as intensely as you imagine. You discover that silence itself is not an inherent judgment. Sometimes it is simply a tranquil peace, and that small, trembling voice you habitually hide might very well be the exact voice someone else desperately needs to hear. There is something inherently, quietly heroic about navigating life with social anxiety, because even though its manifestations may not always appear overtly dramatic, it constitutes a profound daily act of sheer courage. Every single time you purposefully enter a room, every instance you consciously decide to speak up, even when your throat feels constricted and tight, every moment you manage to remain present despite your heart pounding within your chest, that, unequivocally, is bravery in its most pristine and authentic form. The broader world frequently extols low-oud, overt confidence, but it often entirely overlooks that silent, persistent endurance is an equally potent form of strength in its own right. Indeed, individuals experiencing social anxiety are often among the most deeply introspective and thoughtful people you will ever encounter. They devote such an extensive amount of time to meticulous observation, carefully noting how people physically move, how they articulate their thoughts, how emotions subtly shift like ever-changing weather patterns, that they ultimately cultivate a quiet, almost philosophical depth of understanding. They comprehend human behavior, not merely from academic texts, but directly from their profoundly lived experiences, having meticulously analyzed every minute detail of social interaction, not out of mere intellectual curiosity, but out of an instinctive drive for survival. And in the course of this rigorous observation, they have acquired a unique kind of wisdom about people that few others possess. However, that very same heightened awareness can, ironically, transform into a confining cage. When you are ceaselessly preoccupied with reading the room, you paradoxically forget to genuinely feel the room. You become an astute scientist of human emotion, but regrettably, not an active participant in it. You dedicate so much energy to diligently managing external perceptions that you gradually lose genuine contact with your own core authenticity. This is precisely why healing from social anxiety isn't solely about diminishing fear. It is, fundamentally, about rediscovering your inherent natural self, carefully concealed beneath accumulated layers of self-protection. Imagine this scenario: a young child playing joyfully in a park, laughing freely without a single thought for who might be watching them. That, precisely, is the sensation of freedom as it used to feel, long before anxiety learned your personal name. Social anxiety, in numerous respects, functions as the ingrained memory of emotional danger. It is your mind's deeply ingrained mechanism, persistently whispering, "Do not permit that to happen ever again." However, the genuine process of healing commences when you fully realize that you are no longer that vulnerable child who felt an urgent need to hide. You are now in a position of safety, and your unique voice unequivocally deserves to exist, authentically and without any need for apology. One of the most profoundly liberating realizations is the understanding that social anxiety certainly does not signify that you are antisocial. In actual fact, the vast majority of individuals who grapple with this condition are intrinsically deeply social beings. They simply carry an excessive burden of empathy. They contemplate, with great intensity, the potential ripple effects of their every word. They meticulously imagine every conceivable reaction, every potential discomfort or awkwardness they might inadvertently cause. It is not that they lack a desire for meaningful connection, rather, it is that they strive to connect perfectly. And the relentless pursuit of perfection invariably stifles genuine connection because people do not forge bonds over flawlessness. Instead, they truly connect over shared honesty, mutual vulnerability, and the common ground of shared imperfection. When you begin to genuinely embrace this profound truth, something transformative inherently shifts within you. You cease your relentless efforts to impress others and instead begin a more authentic endeavor to truly feel and understand them. You stop painstakingly rehearsing what you intend to say, and in its place, you begin to truly listen. And quite remarkably, the less you consciously perform, the more genuinely people tend to trust you. This is because real presence, quiet, imperfect, authentically unpolished, possesses an undeniable magnetic quality. Social anxiety frequently trains individuals to excessively overanalyze themselves. Yet, self-awareness, when properly balanced and managed, represents an invaluable gift. It empowers you to engage in deep reflection, to cultivate profound empathy, and to foster genuine personal growth. The crucial key lies in learning to redirect that awareness from relentless self-criticism towards compassionate self-observation. Instead of posing the question, "What is inherently wrong with me?" begin to inquire, "What exactly is happening inside me right now?" That seemingly minor alteration in inquiry transforms shame into genuine curiosity. And curiosity, by its very nature, stands as the direct antithesis of fear. Let us briefly delve into the scientific underpinnings for a moment. In individuals experiencing social anxiety, researchers have consistently identified heightened activity not solely within the amygdala, which is universally recognized as the brain's fear processing center, but also within the medial prefrontal cortex, the specific region intricately involved in self-referential thinking. This implies that your brain quite literally persists in placing you at the absolute center of every single social interaction or equation. It creates a sensation akin to being perpetually illuminated by an intense spotlight, even when objectively, no one is actually observing. Therapeutic modalities such as mindfulness practices and acceptance-based therapy prove invaluable by helping to redirect that internal spotlight outward, by gently reminding you that not every moment of silence signifies judgment, and not every facial expression or gesture necessarily implies rejection. Sometimes, people are simply absorbed in their own thoughts, precisely as you often are. However, you cannot simply employ logical reasoning to extricate yourself from the grip of anxiety. It is not fundamentally a problem of logic. Rather, it represents a deeply ingrained nervous system pattern. This is why the journey towards genuine healing must necessarily commence with the body itself. Techniques like slow, deliberate breathing, grounding exercises, and carefully managed gentle exposure are all designed to retrain your physiological system, teaching it to associate social interactions with a sense of safety instead of an automatic perception of danger. When the physical body achieves a state of calm, the mind invariably follows suit. When the mind gradually quiets, the possibility of authentic connection once again emerges. Still, it is vital to acknowledge that progress in healing is rarely a linear progression. There will undoubtedly be days when you articulate your thoughts with effortless freedom, and other days when your voice may unfortunately tremble once more. There will be days when you genuinely astonish yourself with acts of quiet courage, and conversely, days when you find yourself canceling plans solely to reclaim a moment of peaceful solitude to simply breathe. And that, unequivocally, is perfectly acceptable. Healing does not signify the complete absence of fear. Instead, it embodies the liberating presence of conscious choice. You may still experience the familiar sensations of anxiety, but it will no longer hold the ultimate power to dictate your decisions for you. And something profoundly beautiful and transformative also transpires along this journey. Your inherent empathy, which at one point may have felt like an overwhelming burden, gradually blossoms and evolves into your most significant strength. Because once you have personally experienced what it truly feels like to be invisible or overlooked, you will never intentionally permit others to feel unseen. Once you have intimately known the crushing weight of silence, you will undoubtedly listen with a profoundly different quality of attention. And once you have endured the stinging pain of rejection, you will navigate the world with a pervasive kindness that feels as warm and radiant as sunlight itself. That, ultimately, is the profound truth that social anxiety often conceals beneath its surface: a heart that cares with an overwhelming intensity and a spirit that feels with an unparalleled depth. There is a quiet yet significant revolution actively occurring in how contemporary psychology understands and approaches conditions such as this. For an extended period, the predominant focus was on identifying and fixing what was perceived as wrong. Now, the emphasis is shifting towards discovering and cultivating what is inherently right and resilient within the struggle itself. That fundamental shift in perspective holds immense significance because when you cease to perceive yourself as fundamentally broken, you invariably recommence the vital process of personal growth. Social anxiety is not a fundamental flaw within your core personality. Instead, it is a complex byproduct of a nervous system that at some point became overly zealous in its pursuit of safety. It indicates that your mind once genuinely believed that blending seamlessly into the background was the sole viable strategy for survival. However, you are most certainly not destined to blend in indefinitely. You are inherently meant to bloom, even if that blossoming occurs slowly, even if it unfolds quietly. The transformative process often initiates with small, deliberate acts of defiance. These are not dramatic, sweeping changes, but rather subtle rebellions against the pervasive grip of fear. This might involve maintaining eye contact for a second longer than you typically would. It might mean speaking up, even when your heart vehemently urges you to remain silent. It could be allowing a natural pause in conversation to simply exist without frantically rushing to fill it. Such moments may not appear overtly heroic from an external vantage point, but inwardly, they are precisely that. They serve as tangible proof that you are consciously choosing genuine presence over reflexive protection. And incrementally, over time, these minute victories actively rewire your brain's neural pathways. You gradually begin to cultivate trust in yourself once more. And as that self-trust steadily builds, the relentless power of anxiety progressively starts to wane. But here's an aspect that relatively few people openly discuss. When the pervasive presence of anxiety begins to recede, there can, paradoxically, also be a sense of emptiness. For such an extended period, it may have defined a significant portion of your identity. Who, then, are you without its constant shadow? What happens when silence no longer feels suffocating and oppressive, but instead becomes genuinely serene and peaceful? That particular phase of healing often feels simultaneously profoundly beautiful and somewhat disorienting. You gradually begin to comprehend that anxiety never truly obliterated who you were at your core. It merely shrouded you. And beneath all the layers of self-doubt and apprehension, you were always, inherently, someone truly deserving of being known. People frequently make the erroneous assumption that social anxiety automatically implies a dislike for others. But the poignant truth is, individuals with social anxiety often care for people with an overwhelming intensity. You meticulously envision their potential disappointment even before it has a chance to materialize. You internally shoulder the burden of their hypothetical judgments long before they are ever articulated. You figuratively inhabit their minds even before you fully inhabit your own. That, precisely, is both the tragedy and the exquisite beauty of a heart that yearns so desperately for acceptance that it paradoxically forgets it is already inherently accepted. And that, fundamentally, represents the ultimate step in truly comprehending social anxiety. It is the profound realization that genuine acceptance must invariably originate from within yourself. The very same profound compassion you so readily extend to others, the boundless patience, the deep understanding, the unwavering forgiveness, must at last be generously bestowed upon your own being. Because you are far more than just a collection of anxious moments. You are the quiet, unyielding persistence that underlies and drives every single one of them. You are the individual who consistently shows up bravely, even when your hands visibly tremble. You are the human spirit who continues to hope, who continues to strive, who still cherishes the profound dream of belonging. One day, the pervasive anxiety will feel more like a distant echo than an overwhelming storm. You will confidently walk into a room, and your physical body will no longer instinctively brace for impact. You will speak, and the words that emerge will feel authentically yours, belonging solely to you. And when silence gently permeates the space afterward, it will no longer carry any burdensome weight. It will simply feel like profound peace. You will no longer feel compelled to meticulously analyze every single gesture, because you will have absorbed the most pivotal truth of all, that you were never, in reality, being judged as harshly by others as you perpetually judged yourself. And perhaps in that singular, transformative realization, you will finally experience something that social anxiety once cruelly stole from you: a profound sense of ease. The ease of authentically being seen without the exhausting need to perform. The ease of simply existing without the constant urge to apologize for your presence. The ease of knowing, deep within your being, that your intrinsic worth was never something to be arduously proven, but rather always something to be lovingly remembered. So, if you are engaging with this message at this very moment, take a deliberate, deep breath. You have undoubtedly spent countless years silently contending with a profound internal struggle that remained entirely invisible to others. Yet, you are still here, still persevering, still earnestly attempting to voice your truth, even when your voice may quaver. And that, unequivocally, is what renders you truly remarkable. Because courage is not always expressed with boisterous loudness. Sometimes it is profoundly quiet. Sometimes it manifests as a barely perceptible whisper, gently reaffirming, "I will try again tomorrow." And sometimes that single courageous whisper is more than sufficient to transform everything.